you, and I think you got it from Rose, talk a lot about maybe one of the core things of being a seeker is self-definition.
Yeah,
And you hear in the spiritual marketplace, maybe maybe people will criticize that it's too much thinking, it's too logical, it's not, that's mind stuff talking about that. What's your response to that?
I thought so. I'd never heard anybody use that term before. I came either heard Rose talk about it or read something that he'd written about it. And to me, I think it's a brilliant term because, uh, and so what I do these days is I try to look up words in dictionaries to see what their connotations are and also the etymology of where they came from. So for me, I look up the word define, and it's described in a lot of dictionaries, something along these lines, describing exactly the nature, scope, or meaning of. And a second indicator is marking the boundary or limits of. And basically, if we're going to know the self, that's what we're talking about. We're looking for exactly what our nature, scope, or meaning is, and where we start and where we stop. And so one of the things I often ask people is where do you start and stop? And the probably the most frequent answer I get is, well, I stop at my skin. That's the boundary. Anything outside my skin is not me. Anything inside is me. And so that's a boundary that can definitely be questioned. And if somebody has what you call accidental rapport with another mind, or if you're sitting in say a silent meditation group or a silent rapport group, and you do get in rapport with another mind, it really challenges the belief in where you stop and start. The self-definition, it's basically what we work with is not our sophisticated beliefs about what we are. Oh, I'm one with everything or whatever. No, baloney. We've got gut level beliefs about what we are, and a lot of them may go back to even early childhood. So I'm something that was born and is going to die. Uh, I'm the doer. I'm the thinker. I'm the decision maker. All these beliefs are being used by the mind in its operations. And to me, the mind's operations are designed for survival, temporary survival, basically, because we're not programmed to, unless we have some kind of early religious training and get, associated with beliefs about heaven, and you're either going to heaven or hell, but you're going to be around for a long time. So, but those are adopted beliefs, and so those are also used by the mental machinery to work with, but they can be challenged. And self-definition. And so I think you, Brett or Benji, one of you already might have mentioned the term retreating from untruth. And that's, we don't know where, if there is such a thing, we don't even know for sure that there is such a thing as absolute truth, or capital R reality. But if that's what we're setting our sights on, so, and to me, that's another giant step for a seeker, is for their intuition to pick up on admitting the possibility of absolute truth, of capital R reality, capital L love, any word we put a capital letter around to indicate it's got some absolute property. So our beliefs about what we are, if life is basically challenging them for us. Life erodes what we call the ego. And if we're satisfied for the speed of that process, then there's nothing more to worry about. If we're trying to speed it up in some way, then that's when we start looking around for ways and means of possibly trying to accelerate the process. And it's one we don't know where, if even if there is such a thing, we don't know where it is. We don't know how to get there, but what we can do is we can retreat from what we can see is less likely or less true than its opposite. And so those sets of opposites, and typically what I've seen my mind do, and what I think is fairly common, is we'll trade in one belief for its opposite. So I started off thinking I was a decision maker. One time when I was doing a solitary retreat, this was another time I was stopped in my tracks. I watched the decision-making process as it was unrolling, and I could see that I wasn't doing any of it. It was machinery at work. And so the belief in being the decision maker, if that flips around to the belief of not making decisions, then we actually are stuck in a more abstract difficulty. And the ideal place for all those beliefs to reside is just in moderate grounds. It looks like I'm not the decision maker. I have a feeling I may be influencing it somehow and whatever, but it doesn't leave anything for the mind to grasp onto if conditions are right and we're on the abyss of falling into the truth.